Troll Nation, welcome back to telesplashgaming. I'm Chris, and today I want to talk to you about something that's been eating at me for a long time. Diddy Kong Racing. Am I the only one that absolutely loved this game? I don't think so. And with that being said, where is a sequel? I'm here to dive a little bit deeper and find out why we haven't seen a sequel to, in my opinion, one of the greatest kart racers and racing games ever. So stick around and let's take a look. Being king of the kart racers since its original release, Mario Kart made racing fans out of even the most unlikely of gamers. You know, before Mario Kart, I played a few racing games, RC Pro-Am, F-Zero on Super Nintendo, but Mario Kart was really the first one that I was like, I have to beat this game. And it had slick controls, great graphics, incredibly satisfying gameplay, including 2-player story mode with co-op, as well as a 4-player battle royal and later iterations of the game. It was truly a game worth playing, and one that most assumed would remain pretty much untouchable, at least for the Nintendo 64's lifespan. But the developers at Rare had a different plan. They were responsible for such great games as Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64, Banjo-Kazooie, and one of my personal favorite first-person shooters, Perfect Dark. And they had their own ideas of what a kart racer should be. Released in November of 1997, Diddy Kong Racing did something for me that I wasn't expecting. It had me put Mario Kart on the shelf. And you know what? You know as well as I do, when you have a great game that you love, the only thing that can really make you stop playing that game is another game. And Diddy Kong Racing did that for me. Now, it felt a ton like Mario Kart, which is true. But it also had its own personal flavor to it, with an evil space pig coming down to Timbers Island, taking over the area, and then hiring some local inhabitants as his henchmen. It kind of gave it a little bit of a personal feel. I mean, I know, it's not going to win any awards, it's not like some amazing Last of Us storyline or anything like that, but at least it made it feel a little more personal, like you weren't just racing your friends around an island for nothing, you were actually trying to save the island from this alien, so that was kind of cool. It was a little bit different than its N64 brother in that it had 3 methods of transportation. It had a cart, a hovercraft, and a plane. It had 5 interconnected worlds with 4 race tracks in each world, as well as a boss battle at the end where you had to beat this boss in a race around the island. And that was actually really fun at the time, and it still is, so that kind of set itself apart. Now, it did include power-ups, which we'd grown used to because of Mario Kart Mania, but it also had different versions of power-ups. So it was a knockoff, but then it had a personality of its own. Diddy Kong Racing ended up selling 4.8 million copies and became the 8th best-selling game on the Nintendo 64. Yeah, it was well behind Mario Kart's 9.8 million, but not bad for a first game in a franchise. So what happened? I waited for years as Mario Kart and other racing titles such as Excitebike and F-Zero got new releases on new consoles, but what happened to my beloved Diddy Kong Racing? Well, in short, Microsoft happened, but let me give you a little history before that. So from 1994 to 2002, Rare and Nintendo were like best buddies. Nintendo gradually kept buying more and more of the company and eventually grew to own 49% of Rare, and they started becoming Rareware was the name they went by. Nintendo even felt comfortable enough to let Rareware use some of their personal creations in their development. Can you guess which character they ended up picking? You already know, it was Donkey Kong. Taking advantage of their 3D CGI graphics, Rareware created one of the most memorable platformers of all time with Donkey Kong Country. They brought a unique look to the SNES compared to other platformers, and they matched that incredible look with gameplay and controls. It ended up being the 3rd best-selling game on the Super Nintendo with over 8 million copies sold. They inevitably created 2 more sequels, Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest and Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. By showing Nintendo the quality of games they could create and showing love to a classic franchise in Donkey Kong, Nintendo and Rareware were pretty much 2 peas in a pod at that point. And when the Nintendo 64 came out, Rareware had many great releases, including Diddy Kong Racing, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Donkey Kong 64, and the incredibly ambitious Jet Force Gemini, which I did play, and that game is hard. I don't know how you could beat it without a guide. I never beat it, but I've seen playthroughs, and that game is incredibly cool, incredibly unique for the Nintendo 64, and kind of a hidden gem. Without getting off topic, they even made one GameCube game, Star Fox Adventures. At E3 2001, Nintendo had a tech demo called Donkey Kong Racing, which looked promising, with many characters riding animals around and having Donkey Kong as the main protagonist. So as you can see in the footage, they had a plan for Diddy Kong Racing 2 called Donkey Kong Racing. But in 2002, with a rising cost of development and a lack of capital to work with, Rareware was looking for a buyer. Now, the obvious choice with 49% ownership of the company would have been Nintendo. And this is where I get confused. If you already own 49% of the company, why not just pay the rest? Why not become majority owner? But they never really seemed interested. So they met with a few potential buyers, Rareware did, including Activision and Microsoft. And as you know, Microsoft ended up buying them for $375 million and transitioned Rare as a first-party developer for their new Microsoft Xbox. So this is where things kind of get confusing. So characters created by Rare, such as Conker and Banjo-Kazooie, were kept by Rare in the transition. Nintendo-owned properties, such as Donkey Kong, were obviously kept by Nintendo. On a side note, because Microsoft had no interest in handheld gaming, Rare was able to make games for the Game Boy, and that's actually what happened is they made a game that was supposed to be a Diddy Kong Racing game for the Game Boy, but it ended up being called Banjo Pilot. So that's kind of one little interesting thing. So talk about a working relationship. Your main competitor, and you're using your first-party developer to make games for your competitors. So, I mean, if you're making money, you're making money. So with that being said, Diddy Kong Racing has kind of been a bit of a forgotten memory. Other than the 2007 remake of the original game for the Nintendo DS, there hasn't been a whole lot of talk. Now, a couple years ago, a guy named ptoponline, or a website called ptoponline, uncovered some unfinished and unreleased Diddy Kong Racing adventure that was created by Climax Group as a pitch for Nintendo, and I believe this was like their way of creating a game showing Nintendo what they had to offer in terms of a Diddy Kong Racing 2 sequel, and this was around 2004. But obviously nothing came of it, and this footage didn't even show up for 12 years, so I don't really know what that was all about. But basically, Diddy Kong Racing 2 has kind of become the odd man out with Nintendo's franchises. But I can't be the only one that still wants to see Diddy Kong Racing 2, right? So I'm still hoping they can surprise us with something. I've looked at research, but I've seen nothing on the books. I've seen nothing from Nintendo that says Diddy Kong Racing 2 is going to be coming out. Hey guys, what'd you think? Quick video, kind of finding something near and dear to my heart in Diddy Kong Racing 2. I can't be the only one that wants to see this game made. I know we have lots of great kart racers, maybe because Mario Kart has expanded into this monster, they don't think we're still interested, but you know what? Mario Kart's great, but I could use another racing game, another kart racer. So with that being said, thanks for popping in, spending some time with me today, guys. Let me know what you think about Diddy Kong Racing 2. Keep rolling, keep trolling, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you again soon.